So we're talking about broadcasting to real estate today. My guest is John Marcario from the Century 21 Redwood Realty. And thanks for joining me today, John.
Hi, Eddie. Thank you so much. Really appreciate being here.
Sure. So I think it's safe to say I've been told I have a face for radio. And John, you definitely have a voice for radio. So this is, I'm going to be very conscious to project and pronounce right. But that seems like it comes really natural for you.
I enjoy it. We're going to have a good time here, and I think we're going to vibe off each other quite well over the next couple minutes.
That's what's going to happen. So give me a rundown of how your background, your professional background in sports and reporting, how that kind of positioned you to excel in real estate like you have.
So I had a journalism background, which is fantastic. I was very fortunate and lucky enough to go to school to become a journalist, and then I spent about 15 years being a journalist, and that was just an absolutely amazing part of my life and experience. And that really did was teach me a lot about patience, teach me a lot about keeping a good schedule about things, and very much similar with real estate. As you're interviewing subjects, you have to kind of be able to adapt and hear what they're saying and be able to project and kind of listen to what they say and react to it. And it's the same with real estate. When I'm dealing with clients, I have to be able to hear what they're saying, listen to what they're saying, and then be able to assist them based on what they're saying. And so kind of the marriage between both of them really has been just a fantastic way to elevate my real estate career over the years. And I keep on almost every single day kind of going back to a lot of the stuff I learned being a journalist with my daily real estate life.
Yeah, so when I think of journalism, I think of two different skill sets. Tell me how well these relate. But one of them is going to be asking the questions that's going to create the great story. And then the next skill is actually, witnessing that story get created, come out of their mouths, and then being able to artfully put that together for expression. Did you excel in one of those areas or like one of those areas more than the other?
Generally, for a really good journalist, the first question they ask is just an overarching question. That's just to get the subject matter to start talking. A lot of people, especially when you're dealing with some sports figures, or I covered the military for about 8 years, a lot of the military people, and when you first start to talk to them, they can be a little bit timid. So your first question is just a general overarching question just to get them talking. You ask that question to get them to answer to get them to have a detailed answer, so then you can ask more detailed follow-up questions. And so that's very similar with real estate. When you ask a client, like, why are you looking right now? What kind of house are you looking for? It's just an overarching question. But then when they give you that answer, you want to be able to really drill down and get specifics of what they're looking for. And so again, that's another situation where both journalism past and real estate future are married together.
That's the learning part that we're going to focus on for most of this session. But I'm just interested, the writing portion of it. Did that come as natural as the conversing, kind of getting the story out of the person part?
For me personally, it did. I was always a very good writer. Spelling and grammar, not so much. But as I'd always say, that's why copywriters have jobs. Mm-hmm. I was one of the main people why they had jobs. But the writing aspect of it, once the storytelling part, as you mentioned, that's the really fun part of it. So when you're asking questions, that's part of the story, but you get to build the story. And so I really enjoyed building that story from beginning to end. And that's very similar to a real estate story in the sense of as soon as you talk to somebody, you want to learn about their home search. And at the end of it, you've either found their home or sold their home. So it's also storytelling too.
The person who has affected my writing more than anyone, my junior year in high school, Dr. McCauley gave me the advice that I use and I pass on to my kids, which is, all right, write your story and then eliminate half the words, right? Look at it, eliminate another half the words, and then go back to it and try to get rid of another 50% of the words. And prior to this, I was a young, dumb kid, so I always thought more words, the better, and now I'm constantly, if I can make it to 100, I'll be able to write a book that is about 1 page long because you just want to just get right to the story. Okay. So you grew up relatively locally, right? Western Howard County, and then you go to George Mason, and then walk us through your journey after George Mason.
So I graduated from George Mason University with a bachelor's degree, and then I decided I wanted to continue wasting money. So then I got my master's degree at American University. Loved American. which is a running joke where people are like, I don't really need a master's degree.
Mhm.
Sadly, the master's degree has done nothing for me in real estate, but I
Yeah.
digress. After getting my master's degree, I then was fortunate to get a job at the Reston Times, which I really loved that job. Then I moved on to become a sports reporter at the Connection newspapers over here in Northern Virginia, and that was just an absolutely incredible opportunity. While doing that, I also worked for Verizon Fios One Sports, covering sports games on television. There's also a weekly television show as well covering high school sports. After that, I moved on to then cover the military, most notably the Coast Guard for the Navy League of the United States. And then I kind of figured, I need to change life directions. I could kind of see the writing on the wall that journalism was fading, especially a lot of the print stuff. So tried to figure out what can I do? Where can I go? And I started looking into real estate, started seeing how fun and the opportunities could be and how much enjoyment you can bring into people's lives. And I figured, you know what? Let me give this a shot. And 10 years later, I'm still here enjoying it.
Yeah. And you have a master's degree to pay for too. So
Yeah, I do.
it's an artful way to do that. Okay, so when you are new to real estate, what strikes me is you need to learn two things, right? You need to learn the craft of real estate. How do you work with clients to meet their needs, find the home that's going to get them where they want to go? But then it's also you have to really love the area you're going to work in, because the more of an expert, when someone hires an agent in Reston, Virginia, they're looking to hire a Reston, Virginia expert. So did your affinity for Fairfax County play a role in you applying for that job at the is it the Reston Connection, I think is what you said it was?
It did, because I happened to I lived around the area, and so I knew a decent amount of stuff that was going on. And so when you understand the community a little bit more and you understand the people that are in there, it really makes you want to work in that specific area because you like that area. And so yes, kind of
Yeah.
being a Northern Virginia person, very close to Reston, that's where I really want to start things out at.
Okay, walk me through your first gig in real estate.
So my first gig at real estate was with one of the newer companies at that time. It was with Redfin, and it was an interesting time to work for them. I learned a great deal of stuff, and I really just, when you first start in real estate, as you noted, you have to really take several things into account. And the first one is understanding the area that you're working in. And realtors have to know several areas, especially when they're first starting out, to become an expert in one area. And so I really just wanted to focus on what areas I was good at. I did a lot of primary work in Washington, D.C. at that time. I became an expert in Washington, D.C. You have to read a lot of newspapers, you have to just read a lot of news stories every single day on the real estate industry. And then just kind of as you get more and more years and behind you, you become more an expert in different areas. I would also just add on the hardest part about real estate at first is just understanding all of the contract forms, because there's so many of them, especially into all the different areas that you can work in. And so I think the contract forms is always the hardest part at first.
Yeah, now Redfin has an interesting approach, or at least it might be morphing into more of a sort of traditional real estate model now. But from time at one point, I know Redfin took a highly specialized approach where you had showing agents, and then you had other agents that just wrote the contracts, maybe different agents that just did the inspections. Were you sort of handling all facets of the transactions, or did you start off, showing houses?
So I started off as a showing agent, and then I just progressed into the full-time agents that write the contracts and do everything from beginning to close. And so I feel that really helped grow my real estate career, because when you're showing houses, I mean, I showed a vast number of houses over a year period. I mean, I would average 3 to 6 showings per day. And so when you're doing that many showings, you really become an expert on houses. You really learn a lot about people, and you really learn a lot about areas. So that was really a great opportunity.
Advice for dummies, right? So somebody is watching this video, they just got into real estate, they haven't shown a ton of houses. How do they differentiate themselves as a showing agent?
So first advice is you have to make sure you enjoy what you're doing. Real estate's not easy. It's very fun, but it's not easy. So number one, enjoy what you're doing. Number two, make sure you're able to just dedicate the time to being able to do it. I think there's this misconception that people think, oh, realtors, they don't really do a lot of work a lot of the time. They just sit there and they have somebody call them up and say, hey, I want to see a house. And you write a contract and you get paid for it. It's like, no, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun and it's a lot of rewarding. And so my very simple advice would be just understand that it's a job. It's a full-time job. It's a very rewarding job. And in the end, you will enjoy it if you take all the advantages of it and you come in with just the open mind of this is going to be work, but I'm going to enjoy it.
Well, let me rephrase the question a little bit. Like, how do you win the living room, right? So when you're showing someone the first house, like, how do you demonstrate the house, but then also demonstrate your value, the value that you add to the process? And I'll sort of give you a bit of a leading answer that sort of gives you my mindset. Mm-hmm. I've always said that when you're working with potential clients for the first time, that specifically that reached out to you probably from an online or a sign call inquiry, your job or your goal should be to do such a thorough job demonstrating and explaining that house that they think to themselves, when it's our time to buy a home, we want to work with an agent that is as knowledgeable and friendly as us. And I would say, here I go, just answering my own question. But I would say the most important thing is to make that connection. I always looked for commonality. So I wanted to understand their needs and their wants, their current situation. Are you buying or are you renting? All right. Do you currently live in a home? Is it a single family home like this? Or are you in a townhome and apartment style? And then how long have you been in the area? And at some point through these questions, as you're demonstrating the property, you're going to find a point of commonality. And if it is that you're both Washington Capitals fans, you can, talk about the Caps. If you both are into fly fishing or skiing, you get into that. And then once you find that commonality, you're just going on to the next property. And I feel like you've just effectively glued yourself to them as their agent of choice.
Yeah, I mean you're speaking exactly the way it is. I mean, when you're interviewing the person, and so a lot of that stuff is done in advance. Your first phone call with them should be several minutes of just talking to get an idea of where they're at in their search, what they're doing. It's at that point where you can just kind of drop some anecdotes about yourself. Say, hey, I've been doing this for 10 years. I have done this much sales volume. I've done a lot of work in these specific areas that you're looking for. But I mean, the most important thing is when you meet them, it's an interview for you as much as them. Like, you have to enjoy working with them. You don't have to take on every single client. If you know something's not a good fit, you might as well get out sooner rather than later, because it's not going to work out long term. And so the interview process is very, very important for you to get information about them, but then for you to also understand, do I want to work with this person? Because successful agents don't have to always take on everybody. If you're successful, you choose as well. And so the biggest kind of winning the living room, it's not about you winning their business. It's them winning your business. It's them saying the right things that you want to work with them with.
That's it. I love it. You're interviewing each other. There's a lot of gold in this. So John, give me a rundown of your favorite teams.
So my favorite baseball team is the Washington Nationals, and my favorite football team is the San Francisco 49ers.
All right. That's diversity. So my favorite baseball team is the Washington Nationals, because when I had a son, I just wanted, I'm a Pittsburgh fan. So I love the Penguins, which means I can't be a diehard Caps fan. And I love the Steelers, and I'll let you guys. I moved here in 1998, the same year that right about the same time Snyder bought the team. So being a Commanders fan was never an option. But then we get the Nationals, and I think, all right, here's a time for a clean start. This is a true story. I go to a game. This was probably, 6-8 years before we win the World Series. And I swear to you, I had, I think, a Nats hat on and a Pirates shirt on. And we were sitting right behind the Buccos dugout, because I always got good seats because they knew I was a Pittsburgh fan. But I don't know who I'm going to root for. And it's a tie game in the 8th. We being the Nats, hit a 2-run homer. And so I instinctively just stand up and I raise my hands. And because I was so close to the dugout, I get on TV. I got on TV not only on MASN, but I get on TV on what I think was called Root Sports or Comcast Sports in Pittsburgh at the same time. And I start getting texts from my buddies in Pittsburgh, like, dude, you're on TV rooting for the Nationals. What are you doing? and that was it. I went to that game not knowing who I identified with, and that was that was my party night where I was officially a Nats fan. And then the irony is my son, as soon as he got old enough to like baseball, he preferred the Pirates, and he called me a traitor. So there you go. You never win. So you also have a background in, well, and we should talk about the Niners. So Niners prediction for the Super Bowl.
I was very confident in their 2 NFC title games for the Super Bowl. I'm just looking forward to a good game, and hopefully they don't blow another fourth quarter lead against the Chiefs again. So fingers crossed. I think it's going to be a very good game.
Yeah, I would think you have the momentum. A lot of people are going to be watching this, and they might be watching this a month or 2 after the Super Bowl. So everybody, a lot of people are going to know the answer to this question already, but it's going to be a good game. Okay, so you also have a background in the music industry. So tell me, how does in your interactions in the music industry help you in real estate?
So I've been fortunate enough to work part-time at the Anthem, which is a fantastic concert venue over on the Wharf in Washington, D.C., for about the last 4 years. And that's just provided a fantastic opportunity for just lead generation. There's a number of people that work there that know I'm a realtor that I've been able to assist over the years. And then just standing in line, helping the patrons that are there, and just working throughout the venue. I mean, just you have conversations with people and it comes up, oh, you're a realtor. And that's another way for me to reach out and find new clients there. And so it's just been a fantastic way to not only listen to and see some great music and some great events, but also generate clients as well. And that's just been a very, very good opportunity for me.
So when you're on the clock, and either it's consciously you went into the evening knowing that this is a band you really like, or you just like, it's love at first sight and you can't get enough of the music. Is it hard to be able to focus on what you're actually getting paid to do at the moment versus, zoning out to the music?
Oh, Eddie, you have to be able to adapt just like real estate. And I can adapt very well. I can sit there and listen to the music and jump up and down and sing along, and then also be able to walk someone to their seat or take them to where they need to go. It's just all about adapting and turning on that face of, yep, I'm an usher now. Oh, now I'm listening to music. You just got to be able to move around and do stuff like that.
Yeah, that one doesn't look good. I got to put 2 X's on his or her hands. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So final thing I want to talk to you about is a subject that's obviously near and dear to my heart, which is working with friends. So those of you who may not know, I started Redwood back in 2002 with 2 good friends. They were 2 co-workers. We had all 3 of us worked for a new home builder. So you have a team with Brian Bauer. Tell us how that came together.
So Brian has been my best friend for the last 2+ decades. And so we were both just in the right situation at the right time where we said, you know what, let's form a team. Let's come to Century 21 Redwood and let's just be able to kick butt. And we both complement each other so fantastically well in things that he's good at versus things that I'm good at. And that's always the key and hallmark for any team. You have to have one person that's good at some things and another person that's good at other things. And if you have 2 people that are really great at certain things together, they form just one great team. And we've been very successful in the first couple of months as we've been doing this. And we hope to only grow over the years and get better and better.
Yep. So 1 + 1 = 3. Your background, though, with Brian, you met him at work, right?
Yes, he was the communications director for the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce back when I was a Reston Times reporter. And the ironically first event that I went to go cover, I had to go cover that, and I had to get my press pass from him. And as they say, the rest is history. We became super fast friends, and it's been a great ride.
I gotcha. So he was like a subject. He wasn't a coworker. He was a colleague working in the same town.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so we were coworkers. So, all right. Well, you had an amazing year this year. I know you're only going to do better things in the future, and I'm just honored to work with you. And I'm so glad everybody got to meet you. And so we're gonna have to do this again soon.
Perfect, Eddie. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I just look forward to having just another great year and even better than last.
Heck yeah, John. All right, thanks. See everybody. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button. Tell us you like it. Ask any comments, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks.